Вітаємо всім, welcome everyone, and з Днем народження, незалежності, sorry, it's Ukraine's birthday and Independence Day. Happy Ukrainian Independence Day. I would like, first of all, to put the focus and the attention and the gratitude on all of Ukraine's armed forces, friends and families of the armed forces as well, who are making the ultimate sacrifice in this war, defending democracy globally and giving all of us today a reason to celebrate. So that is the number one reason we are gathered today, is to honor those who are in the armed forces and friends and families of them. And we have an incredible guest with us today. But first, we're also going to reflect a little bit on the context in which we're gathered, which is a very old and special institutional context and partnership with Ukraine that goes back to 1991, when Ukraine became independent from the Soviet Union. IIE, Institute of International Education, and U.S. Department of State, U.S. Embassy, Ukraine, and Fulbright, we all have been operating with our partners at Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine for many, many years, and also Ministry of Education of Ukraine. We have sent now almost 1,000 Americans to Ukraine and over 1,000 Ukrainians to America. These are students and scholars, artists, journalists, lawyers, all kinds of very talented, dedicated individuals. And something that all of us together share is the same values for democracy and for a future free of tyranny, a future filled with freedom of expression. Today, we're thinking and talking and acting around music and the power of creativity, the power of expression, which is something not to be taken for granted. We know there have been times in Ukraine's history when one could not speak Ukrainian freely, when one had to fight for even the basic language in which to express oneself and one's own identity and culture and nation. Nobody wants those days to return. So we take together a solidarity and a strength and move forward in a future filled with more and more music in Ukrainian and in all languages. So today we will hear from TARAS TOPOLIA, who is the lead of an incredible rock band, ANTYTILA. They have been serving in the armed forces of Ukraine since day number one of the war. And Taras is going to share his story with us today, not only through his words, through his voice, through his presence with us, but we'll also offer you the opportunity to see an incredible documentary film that has been created about Taras and his band and others as well serving in Ukraine's armed forces, who are creative individuals and cultural figures in Ukraine across all different arts and media. So the producer of the film is with us today as well, Alina Krasnyanska, and she's going to speak too. We also have two incredible moderators who are young and bright Fulbright alumni. Marta Tomahiv, who is with us. She herself is a guitarist, I know, and a Ukrainian language teacher and writer. We have with us as well Aaron Kennett, who is a student right now, starting out his first semester in graduate school at the University of Indiana in Bloomington, and has long experience in Ukraine professionally and also as a Fulbrighter, and is a fluent speaker of Ukrainian as well. So these are our guests today, and we are honored to hear your questions. We'll have a Q&A section as well. So please stay engaged. And if you have questions, you can put them in the chat at any time, and we will get to them in a pause in the conversation that will be taking place very soon. So our next person I would like to invite to greet you is Sarah Ilchman, who is co-president of Institute of International Education. Is Sarah with us? Or maybe she'll be logging on a little bit later. She's in New York, so the time zone might have tripped her up a little bit. And also Jonah Kochodniak, who is Senior Vice President of Institute of International Education in New York. Both of them are going to join us at some point. Maybe they are lost in the ether, but we can move, I guess, directly to our speakers instead of waiting for them, and we will hopefully hear from them later in our meeting today. So I would like first to introduce our first moderator, Marta Tomachev.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for your introductions, and thank you, Taras and Alina, for making this time to come here. You know how valuable every minute on your schedule is. And first, before we start the talk with Taras, I would like to introduce Alina Krasnyanska, who is executive producer of the Culture versus War film. Alina, maybe you can tell more about the project, the movies, and this particular movie that features Taras and his band.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. Welcome, and thank you for the invitation. I will tell a few words about our project. We initiated this project on May of 2022. It consists of 7 films. The films are about famous and big Ukrainian artists who went to serve at war. And we started our films with the first film was ANTYTILA film, which was dedicated to the band. And I hope that all audience who is presented today here, all of you watched this film and familiar with it, and your questions will be based on it. If not, the film is in open sources in YouTube. You can watch it and have your own experience with this film. All films are about the creators. The first was about ANTYTILA. The second one was about the most famous Ukrainian cinematographer, Serhiy Mikhalchuk. Actually, we also have a big exhibition of Serhiy because he's a very, very talented photographer. So we are making the screenings of his films together with the exhibitions all around the world and in Ukraine as well. And the third hero was Akhtem Seitablayev. What is interesting about him, he is a film director, and in the same time he's Crimean Tatar who is fighting for Ukraine and defending defending Ukraine, and he is willing to bring Crimea back to be a part of Ukraine again. And he is also participating very actively in social movements starting from 2014. Then we have a hero, Serhiy Zhadan, who is not a fighter, but he's a big military volunteer. Serhiy makes a lot for Ukraine. He's very famous writer and poet, very talented one, and very interesting hero for Ukraine. He has a lot of followers, and through him we also tell the story of this war. Then we have the representative of Ukrainian folk music and Ukrainian traditions. It's Kopsar Taras Kompanechenko, which is super interesting hero, being a musician, like folk musician. He is also the person who is speaking to the world by very modern language, and he is recognizable as a musician, but also as he's completely understandable for a very, very different audience. And the heroes of our novel number 6 is a couple of photographers, Vlada and Konstantin Liberovy, who are, I think, the most famous Ukrainian war photographers. All world sees the war by their eyes. Of course, there are a lot of foreign photographers and other Ukrainian photographers, but their pictures are very famous in international mass media. And also what is interesting about them, that the guys are from Odessa. They were completely Russian speakers before the war, and at one point with the start of this war they started to speak Ukrainian. They do it very well, and also like their values as a couple, as a family, are very nice to watch, very nice to follow, and can be an example. So and also we have an exhibition of Liberov family in the world and in Ukraine. Our project is made by the association Watch Ukrainian, supported by European Union and MHP Gramadi and the Babylon Company. So we have big support, and in this film, in ANTYTILA film, what we will be talking about today, we had huge support by all like big friends, musicians, by YouTube and by ED SHEERAN, by big companies who gave us the materials from all around the world. They wanted to support us, they wanted to help, they wanted to support country, and we are thanking to them a lot. Thank you. And now I think we will have chance to watch the trailer of the documentary about ANTYTILA.
Я борюсь, знищу і повернусь.
Війна, яка почалася 24 лютого, вона була для нас очікуваною. Ми не знали, що це буде саме 24 лютого, але ми до цього навіть трішки готувалися. Це було питання часу.
Дімон, ти де? Та зараз тут чи вдома? Давай, бо ми вже, каже, в воєнкоматі записуємося.
Приклад того, що антитіла залишили там інструменти, мікрофони і пішли воювати, це логічне рішення. Кожен просто зірвався в якийсь момент, зрозумів, так я ж козак.
Коли почули виліти, хлопці забіжали в підвал, а він правою ногою став, а ліва була на вулиці, і осколок пробив кусочок стіни, кусок, і прямо йому ногу так.
Тоді от я пам'ятаю, що я вже як побачив цю калюжу крові, таке внутрішнє усвідомлення прийшло, що, ну, типу, ось воно вже. Функція, ти функція. А вже в іншу чергу ти людина, яка може щось відчувати. Якщо ти будеш в першу чергу щось відчувати, оце все пропускати через себе, то воно просто з катушок злетіти. І ти тоді, твоя функція зводиться в мінус. Clean a little bit and we go back.
Коли ми були на передовій, ми дали масу інтерв'ю. Розповідали французам, німцям, американцям про те, як вся країна встала боротися. Якби до вас прийшов ворог вбити вас, чи не б взяли б ви до рук зброю? Чи не встали б вчителі, музиканти, лікарі, менеджери, водії автобусів на захист своєї країни? Ми переможемо і відстоїмо майбутнє не лише нашої країни, а й всієї Європи. По-іншому не буде. Слава Україні!
Thank you for watching the clip. I hope those people who haven't watched the movie will be encouraged and inspired to watch it. And I think, thank you, Alina, for introduction of the movie. And I think we'll start off with the conversation with Taras. I'll ask the first question of mine, and then I will give the word to Aaron. And this question will be probably more general. I remember I was the first attending ANTYTILA live concert in Kharkiv in 2019. It was at Camp Conference, and you were performing there for thousands of teachers all across Ukraine. And I saw like the inspiration of teachers. They were really applauding, enjoying your music. And just 3 years after, you're in Kharkiv again, as far as I can understand, after watching the movie. But you're in a different role. You're already fighting. You're in armed forces. And my question is general. So you play music, but you appear in educational sphere. Now you appear at war. What does it mean for your band? Can you share more about the values that your band share and how you always relate your music to what happens in the society?
Thank you for the question. Hello, everybody. And first of all, before I will start, I want to say thank you, everyone who is watching us, everyone who is supporting Ukraine in our resistance. And we must to get this victory, the right victory of this war. That's why I'm sitting here and trying to share my story with you and doing all my best to get this victory with all my nation. So it seems like if to talk about Kharkiv, it seems like a thin thread connecting me with the city. I don't know why, but a lot of interesting things happened before the war in Kharkiv. We gave a lot of concerts, not only supporting teachers and education events, but also on the stadium. We had a big stadium concert in Kharkiv, and Kharkiv was the first city that loved music of ANTYTILA band. We started to gather a lot of people on our concerts, on our events in the city. So I believe that education is very important. That's why I support at camp. You told about this initiative, and I know the leads of this NGO. And when they asked me to play music and to meet with teachers, of course I said yes. It was 3 years ago, but for example, I continue to support at camp. 2 months ago, I was also on their event. Why? Because I understand, I believe, I know that future of my country, it depends on education, and education is very important. And those people who is acting in this way and try to reach the level, educational level of Ukrainian students, kids, teachers, those people for me are very valuable. So that's why I support different educational programs in Ukraine. But when the war started, we started to serve. When the full-scale war started, I want to market that for me it's like a full-scale war, because for me war started in 2014 when we became military volunteers, when Russia annexed Crimea and started war on Donbass. So we started to work as military volunteers, support Ukrainian military forces in different ways. We gathered a lot of money and bought a lot of different stuff for Ukrainian military forces, for our brother in arms that became our brother in arms in future. So when the war started, when the full-scale war started, we became a soldier of our 130 battalion of territorial defense forces, and we made our military work in Kyiv for 2 months, and we were first battalion of territorial defense forces that was replaced from the Kyiv, from the place where we were situated, to another place For example, as it was with us, we were placed in Kharkiv region because our battalion was really powerful, and we showed that we can that we can war. So that's why we were placed in Kharkiv and started to serve there. So I came back to Kharkiv again, and for me it was of course it was very different experience because I'm not a military man. I wasn't military man before, but I must to do this because when Russians came to our country, it was only one way how to resist. Only if whole nation unites and start to fight against the enemy. Not only military men, not only military stuff, but everyone. So that's why a lot of musicians, plumbers, teachers, bus drivers, CEO of big companies also, and a lot of different people became warriors, became soldiers, and started to serve. So yeah, for me, very important, very essential to get the victory in this war, and for me also very essential to play music, and for me is also very essential to educate the future generation. So that's why I'm like a multifunctional man, because I try to be everywhere where somebody needs my help and my support.
Thank you for the answer. And like what I hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, that through whatever you do, you try to serve the nation, and you try to serve either these are teachers or this is the whole country. So service and unity.
Yeah, but I think it's essential. So I try to, every time I try to find the example how to explain this, and the simplest example is if in your country will happen something like this, I believe there's a lot of people in United States of America will also take the arm, take the weapon, and start to protect the country, because it's essential, it's normal. If you feel that you're a citizen of the country, if you are carrying your flag on your heart, if you're speaking language, if you validating the values and history of your nation, and if you want to live in independent freedom country in future, you should to fight if somebody came to kill you. So it's essential for me. It happened somehow that I before the war started, I was already quite popular in Ukraine, and that's why I have much more attention than other regular people. But I'm also regular people. I'm also a regular citizen, like not something extraordinary. I was born in Kyiv. I lived in Kyiv and continue to do this. And I fought for Kyiv when Kyiv needed. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for this, and thank you for your answer. And I'll give the word to Aaron, to my colleague. Aaron, you are welcome. Here's your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Taras. It's very interesting to hear your answers. You know, building up of where Marta asked, you responded that art is, your music is very important to you. And one of the most powerful things to me is, Ukrainians who've had to leave their jobs, who've volunteered and who have been drafted into the army. They've all built different routines to continue their civilian jobs. I remember reading about a professor teaching from the trenches, artists continuing their work. It's very, very inspiring. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about some of your routines, how you have managed to continue your art, your music, while also defending Ukraine and, conducting your military service. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your question. If to be like quite frankly, we didn't act for 6 months.
from the first day of the full-scale invasion. So what we were doing, we were acting like as a paramedic squad. So our main purpose was to save their lives, to give first aid, to help the wounded, injured soldiers to survive. But I understood every day I understood that I have my own research of I have my audience that is listening me, that is watching me, and somehow tries to follow me and repeat after me. And also it happened like we didn't plan this, that war will start in 24th of February, but we planned that our new album will be released on 25th of February. So when the war started, and the second day of this war, we just upload our new album, musical album in the network, and just share with everybody, and say we made video from basement where our battalion was situated, and said, come on, we are inviting you to listen this music. We are in hard circumstances, but music should be, and nobody can stop the music, But what I was doing from day to day, I was given interviews to different media, world media, and it was my duties to explain what is happening. If you remember that in that time, whole Ukraine was under shellings. Civilian objects, civilian people were under attack, not only military people, also civilian infrastructure was under attack. What Russians were doing in that time is literally crime. It is war crime, and but they still had a very powerful propaganda. So our mission was also to counter, to make something against this propaganda, to share our truth. So what I was doing from different places, from the trenches, from the point where I was on my duties, from Kyiv, from Kharkiv, I was connecting with different different journalists, and try to explain what is happening, try to share Ukrainian truth that is still being only one truth in this war. So and as I told, I didn't sing to them songs, I spoke with them, and I was trying to explain and trying to gather some kind of empathy. I was sharing my own story about this war, story of my friends, stories of my friends, story of my family, how it was everything from the first second when I woke up on 24th of January. And I gave, for now, I gave maybe more than 550 interviews for different media, and it is also my mission. And for example, one small interview that takes like 10 minutes of my life, it case big impact. And every small interview, it's engaged a lot of people, especially in Europe, because, for example, it's not like in the United States, especially like in Austria or Hungarian people, they're like very indifferent in this war. They was like just sitting and waiting. A lot of them were supporting Russia and believes in what Russia propaganda says. So our main purpose was to conversate, to speak to those people. And fortunately, European journalists in that time gave me an opportunity to do this. So music is very important, but when it was hot period, the most important was like my my mouth, what I was speaking, what I was telling, what I was trying to share with European people, with European media, and also with American media, of course. But sometimes it was that they were asking me to sing something, especially like when there was like big meetings on the squares, and it was a couple of times that I was singing and recording my song for those people who were gathering on the square, like in Austria, in Germany, in different countries, and it was like pretty good, I think. But we don't gave a concerts in that time. We don't give a concerts because we did different work.
Yes, actually, I saw in the movie that the movie has all these short tunings in when you were giving interviews even to some media in China, as far as I remember. Japan, sorry.
Japan, yeah.
I confused. So that was really impressive of this whole. And I have my next question will be a bit different, but since you touched upon talking to international media, I have this question about English language. Do you think the fact that you are so fluent in English helped you to communicate and connect easier with the media?
I'm not so fluent in English, my English is not so good because I didn't get an opportunity to practice in this so much before the war. For now, when I gave like a lot of interviews, of course, I a little bit uplifted like my skills in English, but yes, of course, English, it is international language, and fortunately, maybe better to say unfortunately, that, for example, Chinese media don't ask me for the interviews. So mostly those media that were asking me for interviews, they understood English language, and it was a channel, it was a bridge, it was a code that I used to explain what is happening about in Ukraine. But I don't know what to say. I agree. So the English language is very important, very essential when you try to connect with the world and try to understand the world and to be understandable for the world. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there's a thing when media approaches you and you can say straight away, like, yes, I can join, I can speak, if the content is better. And actually, my next question was related to what I saw in the movie. And what really impressed me and struck me when I heard that you said in the movie that when you are there at the front line, you're like a function. So you just function and you try to turn off the emotions and do what you are supposed to do. But you are a creative person. I'm an amateur in like writing or singing, but I know just because I'm emotional, I can create something because I reflect a lot. So my question is, how is it now after you have seen so much pain, I guess? Is it easy to turn off that function mode when you're back to Kyiv? And how does it influence on your creative works? Can you do your art the same way as you did before the full-scale invasion? Did it change? Maybe you can share and reflect on this.
Yeah, I told this a lot of times that when you are on the front line, you should act not like a robot, but you are the function, and our function, our main duties, as I told, we tried and we definitely saved a lot of lives. So when you turn on emotion, when something happens around you, something bloody, it not helps. So that's why you should act using the protocol protocol of medicine and protocol inside of you.
So you, because if not, it will not help. Because emotions not helps on the battlefield, especially when you are situated on the zero line, because you need to be very fast, you need to be very efficient, and you need to be strong inside. But of course, I am a creative person, I hope. People tells people tells that I am a creative person. So and yes, I don't know how to say in English. In Ukrainian, it sounds like sublimate. Like, does it? I see the same. That sublime, yeah, sublime those emotion and everything what I felt, everything what I saw. I sublimed inside me. And for example, song Fortress Bakhmut, it was created in this way just because Antitila sublimed inside of us a lot of emotions. We have saw a lot of different things that happened, and we understand what we are singing about. We understand why we are singing about. So it's a combined thing when you have some knowledge what you should to do, and when you have some feelings how it should be. So you compare and you're reflecting by song, by movies, by something, by different creative acts, and you share this with the people. So I think that creative people, creative persons on the war, it is very important, because nobody can feel like this, and nobody can share, and nobody can reflect like creative persons. So because I told also a lot of times about this, when you are listening the news and watching the news, it's like dry facts. So something happened, a lot of shots from the place, and next news, and it's so like intensive flow that goes through your mind, and you don't you could not find the empathy. You can find the empathy, but not so strong. But when creative persons, creative people telling their own stories through the creative acts, it touches hearts, and it works on different level. I know this, I understand this, and I hope the creator will give me energy and strength to continue and do what what Antitila was doing before the war, during the war, and I hope that we will do the same after our victory.
We hope so too.
Thank you.
That's for sure. Thank you, Taras. Aaron.
So Taras, you mentioned that your English could improve. I'll put in a plug. Marta is a great English teacher. Strongly recommend if you have the chance to work with her. She's wonderful. To my question, so I know you touched a lot about the international collaboration that you had with various different musicians, and how, Marta's question about your, ability to communicate in English. My question's a little kind of tied into that. Since the full-scale invasion, we've seen a lot of attempts at showcasing to an international audience the ties between Russian culture to Russian crimes against Ukraine and Russian cultural imperialism. In the documentary, we saw you explain to BONO, in a 5-second kind of snippet, how this is so much more than Putin's war, but a war against Ukrainian existence. As Ukrainian artists with a growing international presence and strong international connections, what have you found to be an effective way of both communicating the dangers of Russian cultural imperialism and at the same time showcasing the uniqueness and differences of Ukrainian art and culture? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's a very hard question for me to explain, to answer this question, because I'm deeply involved in this war. And for me, Russia culture ends in Bucha and Borodyanka. So if to talk about what is the function of culture, I think the main function of every culture is to grow the generation with values, first of all, and principles. So if Russian culture made possible to happen what happened in Bucha and Borodyanka, for me, this culture should be cancelled. And maybe we should leave some reservation only for як дослідження, only for research, you know, like for trepanation, how it happened, and to make some
Experiments.
not experiments, but not to allow it in future to repeat. So, but I'm not that person that could speak I'm not the person that can speak easily in this way, because I'm involved, because I'm angry, because I hate Russians, and because I hate them every part of my body, of my brain and my heart. I spoke with good Russians, like they named, and I hate them also, because all of them were feeding this dragon for years, and they allowed this dragon to attack Ukraine. They allowed this monster to acting in this way, to kill mass citizens, to kill boys and girls, they tries to make my nation not to exist. So if I had this one red button, I cancel this culture. But of course, I'm not so like transparent in this. I think that it's should be the discussion, like should be something we have something to talk about if we speak about Russian culture. Yeah, of course. But what I know that what Ukrainians should to do, we should to share our culture with freedom world, and we should to hook somehow everyone who is interested in Ukrainian culture and make him or her to be loyal with us. So what ANTYTILA is doing, what ANTYTILA are doing through this war, we're trying to hack the system and act like guerrillas, yeah, in this like against Russian propaganda. So that's why we made those like viral applying for SHEERAN. That's why, and it worked. After that, BONO came to Ukraine and invited us to take a part in his concert. So what it was like, we were acting like guerrillas, and because we had no another way, we used every opportunity to connect with the world and to share our culture with the world, and we will continue to do this. And as I told before, it is very important. And
while a lot of people are watching me during this Zoom, I want to ask to collaborate with Ukrainian artists to find some different ways how to create something common, like joint, to all together, because Ukrainian people are very creative in different ways. We are like, when Ukrainians gathering and sitting one table, 2 from 3 should and can sing very well. So we are very talented nation, and we can and we will add something interesting to world culture, of course. And now is the time. And I hope that it will be some kind of trend in world culture, something blue and yellow, something Ukrainian, not just because we are fighting against the Russian, but also because Ukrainians are really creative people, despite of this. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell that Duolingo showed Ukrainian language as #1 language, which people were learning during 2022, so it shows the interest. And we see that many European countries do residencies for Ukrainian artists. They invite them and they provide them a free space just to relax to the extent possible and continue creating. Thank you so much for your reply. Thank you, Aaron, for the question. And I'll give the word back to Jessica because she will introduce 2 important guests who have joined us today too. And I see that Hannah raised her hand for the question. Hannah, we will get back to you after Jessica introduces our guests.
Yes, we'll just take a momentary pause to hear a special message of solidarity with everybody from all the way from the Big Apple, from New York City, our colleagues, our residents of the Institute of International Education. Our first speaker who would like to greet you is co-president Sarah Ilchman, who is right now with us all the way from New York. So Sarah, I turn the floor to you.
Thank you, Jessica. And ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests from many areas of the world, the Ukrainian Ministry of Culture, the Ukrainian Institute in Kyiv, the Ambassador to the United States, Oksana Markarova, the Ukrainian Embassy in Washington, D.C., the Ukrainian Association of Film Producers, the U.S. Embassy Kyiv, IIE Fulbright Ukraine, and Fulbrighters and friends around the world. We are so glad that you are here at this special virtual event as we gather to celebrate Ukraine's Independence Day and reflect upon the enduring values that have shaped our world. Today, we stand together, united in the spirit of freedom, education, creativity, and innovation, values that have been championed by organizations like IIE for over a century. And IIE's journey traces back to 1919, a time of great historical significance, when the world was undergoing immense changes. It was a time when the right to education, freedom of expression, and scientific innovation were not just ideals, but beacons of hope for a world in turmoil. IIE throughout its history has stood firmly for these values, recognizing that education transcends borders and empowers individuals to be catalysts for positive change. Today, as we celebrate Ukraine's Independence Day, we also acknowledge the pivotal role that creativity plays in pushing against authoritarianism and promoting democracy worldwide. Ukraine's sovereignty, as demonstrated through this ongoing war, stands at the forefront of the global democracy movement. It serves as a powerful reminder that the fight for self-determination is universal and eternal. IIE, in its enduring commitment to fostering global understanding and cooperation, has established a wide presence across the globe with 18 offices. These offices are not just geographical locations, but symbols of IIE's dedication to facilitating cross-cultural exchange and supporting educational initiatives that transcend borders, communities, and nations. IIE's commitment to Ukraine and its people endures not only during times of war. We have administered the Fulbright program with Ukraine since 2001, bringing over 1,000 students and scholars to the US and sending over 800 Americans to Ukraine. And then there are initiatives like IIE's Ukraine Response Fund, which has supported over 225 students, scholars, and faculty to continue research, study, and teach at displaced Ukrainian universities just since February 2022. This initiative and those you will hear about next from my colleague, Jonah Kokadiniak, are testament to IIE's unwavering commitment to fostering education and cultural exchange, even in the face of challenging times and war. And this would not be possible without the tremendous leadership of Jessica Zachovich and the entire IIE team in Ukraine. I am so proud and so grateful. As we come together to celebrate Ukraine's Independence Day, let us not only rejoice in the achievements of this remarkable nation, but also reaffirm our commitment to the enduring values that Ukraine and IIE represent. Let's celebrate the right to education, the freedom to express oneself, the power of culture and creativity, and the resilience of democracy. Thank you for joining us in this virtual celebration, and let us look forward to a future where these values continue to shine brightly, lighting the way toward a better world for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jonah.
Great,
Jonah
thank you.
Kokoniak.
Thank you
And-
so much, Jessica.
Yep.
And thank you so much, Sarah and Marta and the entire IIE Ukraine team. We are all in the US really humbled to support and work with you. I'm Jonah Kokadiniak, our Senior Vice President in New York, and want to reiterate Sarah's thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ukrainian Institute Kyiv. Thank you for your partnership and for making today's event possible. I also want to thank the Ukrainian Embassy in Washington, D.C., including the Ambassador and the First Secretary, Katerina Shmagali. None of the work we do would be possible without you. As Sarah mentioned, in my role at IIE, I've been humbled to support our Ukraine response work since the war began. Our initial response began the day after the war began, when we provided emergency grants to over 200 students in the US who were unable to pay tuition, pay for their health needs, pay for books, pay for food, pay for housing, and IIE, through our emergency student fund, made those grants immediately to Ukrainian students at US universities. We've also undertaken a number of activities to support students, scholars, professionals, and artists in partnership with the US private sector. These efforts have included, among other programs, partnering with the Lubetsky Family Foundation on the Global Democracy Ambassador Scholarship, which has supported 20 students from Ukraine to spend a semester or a year at a US university, educating peers in the US and their local communities about the vibrant Ukrainian culture and the importance and fragility of democracy worldwide. We've also partnered with the Sloan Foundation to provide a grant to the Ukrainian NGO Kunsht to facilitate virtual scientific collaboration among Ukrainian scientists, as well as the development of scientific journals, forums, and other activities so that Ukrainian research can not only continue during this period, but also contribute to global scientific advancement. And we've also partnered with our longtime foundation funder, the Freeman Foundation, to support students and faculty in the environmental sciences, not only to continue their research and work, but to undertake efforts that will help to repair the physical and ecological damage that the war has caused. All of these programs, I think, fit very well under the heading of culture versus war, and that in many ways is the perfect description of what IIE's Ukraine response has done and what all of our programs do every day around the world. So on behalf of IIE and all of these partners, we wish you a wonderful celebration. I look forward to hearing the rest of the interview with Taras, who we thank for his service in the war, and also looking forward to the documentary later today. Thank you so much, and back to you, Jessica.
Thank you, Sarah and Jonah. And thank you to all of our partners for ongoing support. So now we are at the second segment of our discussion today. We will continue with some more questions that Marta will guide us through. And we definitely are saving time for Q&A because I see a lot of questions coming up already in the chat, really great things that I'm sure Taras would like to think about and respond to. So I will cut over to Marta.
Thank you, Jessica. And since we want to save time to have an opportunity for audience to ask you questions, we'll go probably with the last couple of questions from me and Aaron. And I have the question that is related to music again. I'm from Ternopil, so I was born there, and when I was a teenager, my environment was mostly pro-Ukrainian, and I joined PLUS, so the music I was listening was mostly Ukrainian. Maybe before that, I would listen to some Russian songs, but usually it's Ukrainian. But now when I talk to some people and I name my favorite bands like Kyiv, all these like Ukrainian classics, young people don't always know about these bands, or they say like, oh yes, I've heard somewhere, but I'm not familiar with the songs to the fullest. So my question is, Taras, what do you think? Shall we try to promote this, the whole layer of Ukrainian music? Because I think that such a pure Ukrainian environment as I used to have is not common for whole Ukraine. And maybe this is just my assumption, correct me if I'm wrong. So this is the first part of the question, like, shall we promote it? And if we shall, how can we do this? And the second part is maybe more personal. What were your favorite Ukrainian bands before you became popular? What bands did you listen to? And you can share what were your favorites.
Thank you for your question. First of all, I want to say, let me answer the second part of your question. 2 days ago, it was event, and big part of this event was dedicated to Taras Petrenenko. So it is our national legend. It is singer #1 for me. All my life was listening his songs, and he has incredible voice, and he has incredible feelings that he share with us through his songs. So yeah, it is Taras Petrenenko, and it is there are a couple of musical bands that I was listening when I was young, like Scriabin, like also Placi Remi, and but what is happening now? And I will try to answer your first part of your question. What is happening now? Like my young generation, my new generation is fixing that mistakes that our parents did. It sounds maybe painful for somebody, but young people dies on the front line. A lot of young people dies on the front line. Youth is fighting, and best Ukrainian citizens are dying on the front line because we are fixing the mistakes. And for me, most valuable is reflection of these young people. How they acting, what they felt. And that music that producing this young generation, it is true music. So that's why for me, like, I think that we should focus on this young generation that is telling true through the lyrics, that is telling true through the melodies, that express their emotions through creative acts. Yes, of course, we should respect like our roots and previous generations of musicians that made a lot Ukrainian culture not to stop exist. and they were carrying Ukrainian spirit in their songs, in rock and roll, in folk music, in classical music. But now we are writing a modern history, legendary history. And now on our eyes, burning new heroes. And for me, this is the chronograph of Ukrainian of these times. Modern music, rap music, rock music, different kind of music. So yeah, you're right that we should not, we should remember, we should keep in our minds like our roots and everything that was 10 years, 20 years, 30 years before. But focus should be on the future and on what is happening now. So ANTYTILA supports young musicians, and I get a big pleasure when I'm watching and listening these new songs, these new melodies, new lyrics, and what is happening, what happened during last 1.5 years. A lot of great songs born, a lot of great creative acts were born during this time, and a lot of movies, a lot of documentary and etc. So this is our treasure, and we should focus on this.
Thank you so much. That was very interesting to hear your perspective. And you just said this, and I didn't think about this before, but I think this boom that we have, it's sort of post-traumatic growth. So we usually talk about post-traumatic disorder, but I think that there is something that also makes us grow bigger, brighter, and spread this culture, our Ukrainian culture. Thank you. And Aaron?
So my last question to you, Taras, you know, a theme with a lot of modern contemporary Ukrainian music since February 24th of last year is to share scenes of some of the horrors and realities of the war. On the one hand, it's very important to show audiences what happened, what's going on, so that international audiences are aware of how awful war is. But on the other hand, it can trigger people who have suffered. And I'm curious if you could talk, you know, and there's the whole question about the ethics of profiting off of pain. When you were working on your music video for Fortetia Bakhmut, did you and your team have questions about the ethics of how to use some of those scenes? And yeah, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I didn't understood everything. Yeah, if I can.
Може зам'ютимо, я що про етичність, тому що показуєш.
Thank you. It's very interesting question, Aaron, and a girl translate for me because I didn't understood clearly what you was asking about. You were asking about ethic, yeah. So there is very good words in Jewish tradition. When somebody comes to kill me, oh no, when somebody comes to kill you, kill first. So we didn't get to Russia territory. We're just defending our country. And if to talk about me, I defending my 3 kids. I defending my wife. I defending future of my family, By the way, the oldest son was born in America. He is American citizen. But I believe that our common future of my family is in Ukraine. So, and I have right to do everything to defend my family. And I can shoot, I can kill, I can help to survive, I can help to hide, I can hide, I can run, and I can stand till the end. I have my right to do everything to defend my country, to defend my values and defend my principles. And me as an artist have right to show what I feel and how I feel in that way that I feel, that I want. So that's why, yeah, this video, Fortress Bakhmut, we captured these frames. We made this video definitely on the front line, not on the zero line, because artillery don't work on the zero line. It's like first or second line of the front. But yeah, that gun were shooting Russians, and we were filming this. And that gun were provided by American government to support Ukraine. It is gun names M777, and it works very well. This gun destroys enemy very well, especially in Ukrainian, when it operates by Ukrainians. So, now is the times when we should, when we must to use everything to uplift the spirit, to show our resistance, and to share with the world that we are fighting and we are not ready to lose this war. We're ready only to get the victory. So, and me as a creative person, I have some tools and instruments to express everything what is happening in my country through the video, through the melodies, through the lyrics, and I will do this. And I don't feel як співчуття. I don't feel empathy to Russians because they came to kill my kids. That's why. And I think that I have right, право, так?
Right.
I have right to show everything what I want. To show the truth. Yeah, that's why. And I think that not only me, but a lot of Ukrainian artists already did this and will continue to do this. And also I apply to everyone who is watching me, let's doing something together. Let's do something together more efficiently. Yeah.
Would you like to expand on the question, or?
Yeah, thank you, Taras. I think maybe I didn't ask my question very well. My question was more about the balance that artists face, for managing some the traumas that Ukrainian audiences feel at somehow seeing some of these scenes in music videos. There have been a few controversies, I think, in the balance of trying to show what's happening versus being mindful of how Ukrainian audiences can get triggered off of some of the scenes in these music videos. Could you expand a little bit on that?
If to be frankly, we didn't made some call out about this, like some some researches, but you know, in my surrounding, like those people who is around me, and believe I am in contact with a lot of people. The main desire is to win this war, to kill much more enemies, and to get much more Ukrainian soldiers back home alive. This is the main. What is hard when we see how Russian kills our sons, daughters, our fathers, grandfathers. The video like this don't hurt Ukrainians. Ukrainians hurt when we are listening the politicians, European politicians, and some of politicians of United States, when somebody tries to explain how we should act on the front line, why our counter-offensive is so slow, and when somebody tries to give some advices, never been on the front line before, watching the war on the TV, that hurts. And I will not stop to say thank you for all people of Europe, for people of United States, for politicians of United States that are solid in their thoughts, in their support of Ukraine. So I hope that I was clear in my answer. And I'm getting back home my family. After 2 days, they will fly to Ukraine, to Warsaw. I will meet them, and my wife and my 3 kids will come back to Kyiv. Why it can happen? Because Ukrainian nations are fighting, because my brother in arms are holding the front line, because United States of America provides the Patriot system over my city, over Kyiv. And it will definitely save a lot of lives. And I also want to say thank you for this. But we need more. Of course we need more. I'm not acting not like a musician, like a civil activist, that is asking for more. But we would ask for more, because as I told, our previous generations were made a lot of mistakes that we should fix. And we paid all those bills by our blood. And yes, we're asking for more, because we need more, because we are fighting for common values, for common principles, because my generation feels that we are part of freedom world. And we don't need to be deceived. We don't want to be deceived in this. So we're expecting on you. And thanks you for everything that you already done. And we don't feel the pain because of some hard videos. Don't feel the pain.
Thank you, Taras. And the last question for me, it's short. So you just said I'm saying sort of as a civil activist rather than musician. And my question is, you were a civilian before, now you have military experience. And when you came back to Kyiv, so you probably see this difference, like how society lives and how it was on the front line. So my question is, what are 2 steps, referring to your son with Ed Sheeran, that we as civilians can make towards military people to show our appreciation, to show our support, and just to make them feel that they're not alone in this battle, that we are here, not in the front line, but we support them.
Thank you for this question. It is a very complicated question for me, because it's need a lot of time. It will take a lot of time for me to explain, because different directions where we should act. in different cases we should act in different ways. So what I know, what I feel, that everything that we should do now, we must do now. Everyone on his or her place should do his or her best. And when you wake up, you should think what I must do today to get the victory. Because victory, it is a fundamental thing. If we will not get the victory, everything will crash. Not only in Ukraine, and we will not have opportunity to speak about this, to talk, to conversate in this case, what to do, how to act, and etc. Everything will crash. Not only in Ukraine, but the world order will crash, because I think I don't need to explain why. I think that smart people, intelligent, everyone understand why. So everyone on their places should act efficiently, fast, and with desire. Yeah.
This is step number one.
Yeah, step number one. Yeah, and it's not a sprint; it's a marathon, unfortunately. And this marathon will win that who will act united, powerful, and that who will be connected with freedom world. I believe that it will be Ukraine. I know there is no other variant here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and I think, do we have a couple more minutes to
Yeah,
answer
yeah,
the
of course.
question from the audience? I remember Hannah was the first one to raise her hand. Yes, Hannah, if you want, yeah, maybe you have chat.
Probably for Aaron, it will be more comfortable to read.
I think actually you can do. Hello.
Героям слава.
Give me a second. I'll just, okay.
Can I speak, or are you
Yeah,
gonna...
let's go to the questions from the audience. So Hannah, maybe Hannah can start because she had her hand up for a long time. So Hannah Zakharova.
Sure. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so happy to be part of this. Taras, enormous respect to you and your band for your beautiful music, meaningful music, and for everything you do. And that you mentioned that the war, keep saying that the war started 9 years ago now. It started from invasion to Crimea. I am from Crimea. This flag is from Crimea. I had to flee in 2014 with my parents. I ended up in Canada where my sister lives. Yeah, it was a very touching to watch the videos, the movies that you guys made, and very personal. You know, we many of us abroad live with the sense of guilt that we're here and our brothers and sisters are fighting and dying there, and a lot of us are trying to support the way we can with Ukrainian organizations and fundraising and doing rallies. But as you mentioned, the Russian propaganda is very strong, and here in Canada, in Edmonton, we even had to fight for banning Russia from having their booth at the Heritage Festival in Edmonton. And every year it's harder because people get fatigued from listening and hearing about the war, and then just want to live their life. I'm a member of Ukrainian Youth Association Canada, and we're also, trying our best to support Ukraine. What would be your advice on what what else could we do to support Ukraine, to help Ukraine from where we are around the world. And thank you so much. And бережи вас Бог. І слава ЗСУ, слава нашим героям. Ми за вас дуже хвилюємося, молимося і дуже вас любимо. Тримайтеся і бережіть себе, будь ласка.
Дякую. Дякую. Thank you for your question. I think that quick salvation, yeah? Salvation, am I right? Вирішення.
Solution.
Quick solution is to continue what you are doing. Support different initiatives or create your own. For example, you can support our initiative. Yeah, am I right? Initiative. Sorry for my English. So we will come to United States with the concerts at September, and we start to gathering money for military first aid kits. Our goal is $500,000 for buying 10,000 of this stuff. But there are a lot of different foundation that fundraise money for Ukraine, so you can be a part of them, of this initiative. You can support them on ATC. So it's like quick solution, yeah. But there is a long solution, and it is, I think, more important, more essential for Ukraine. You should become an opinion leader. You should somehow занурюватися, immerse and get involved to those those circles who are making decision in Canada, in United States. You should act like a politicians. Became leaders, political leaders. As we see, like those first waves, first, second, third waves of immigration, Ukrainian that were far away, a long time ago. Those Ukrainian, those people who has Ukrainian roots, they became senators or somehow, and it also works because the main decisions happens on this high level. And if you feel that you have strength to do this, educate yourself, uplift your knowledge, became more influential, and in a long perspective, it will be much more useful for Ukraine if you will become those person who make decisions. Who I hope you understand what I was trying to tell you. Sorry, it's hard for me because I'm trying to speak English for 1 hour. It's hard for me. I'm just my brain just like hits. Yeah. So this is very important. This is strategically important because a lot of Ukrainians spread it all over the world, and we should not stay on that level, hold on that level where we doing our job, serving somehow, donated. We should be more efficiently. We should grow because we have brains in our heads and we can use this. I know Ukraine is very smart nation. So this is strategically, it is our goal. Should be our strategy.
I have two questions from our online audience in the chat. They're related one to the other, and they're also related to what you're saying. So I'll give you both questions at the same time. Ludmila Raichuk is writing about being abroad. She is a Fulbright scholar at a US university. She says, sometimes we need to answer questions that arise from foreigners. Many people abroad and some in Ukraine say that art, including music, is separate from politics. Do you agree with this?
No.
Okay, her next statement. And if not, And if not, what would you say to these people? So that's number one. Related to this same question is another challenge that young people from Ukraine are facing in the US, speaking as ambassadors themselves. This is from Ksenia Utilova. Thank you. I hope to see your concert in my dear home city of Donetsk. I'd like to ask you the following question. What would you recommend we say to people who are indifferent to the war? Like you said, some people don't care and feel annoyed about the news from Ukraine. What strategies, communication would you use to explain to them the importance of our defense? So some advice for the young people today in the US.
I will start from the second part because it's like quick answer. People loved the personal stories. Share with them your personal stories. And make them feel empathy. Make them feel some kind of new feelings listening your stories. And it works. Speak from heart to heart. Everyone has heart. Everyone has feelings. Even it is like cynic, yeah? Even cynical people also has feelings, hearts, and etc. Empathy, yeah. So speak from your heart and tell your own stories. It works. Not retelling something that, Russian destroyed the kindergarten. Okay, sometimes it happens, during this war, and it not works. You should tell your own stories, true stories, and it will touch the heart. And if to speak about music and politics, I will try to give you one example, if I will find the word. United States of America is trendsetter of show business all over the world. And mostly the biggest stars like Ed Sheeran, like BONO, they are singing English. And everyone understands this. And when I was born, it was natural that it happened somehow that the most popular artists are singing English. And they establishing new trends in music. And it works. And show works and business works. How it happened? How happened like this that everyone understand English? And I speak English with you not so good. Like my English is broken a little bit, but I understand and I can express myself. Why? Because politics was before. Because hundreds of years, the nation, big nation, it was Great Britain, after that it was like American new young nation, were speaking English and established English on a lot of territories all over the world. And for now, for us, it's natural that millions of people speak English. But before all of this, there were politics. Politics with imperative, with guns, with etc., with everything that compared with this. So that's why it's like kind of Russia narrative, Russia propaganda that established in our country, that was pushing in our brains from year to year that you should separate the sports people and creative people from the politics. Why? Because they parasitize on our people. What was Russia doing? They were they were taking our people, put Ukrainian people, talented people, taken from Ukraine, put in their societies, work their brains, and make they act like in purpose of Russia, act toward to Russia goals, singing, dancing, and etc. And what they were telling, don't believe like politics, just they were trying to interrupt the to disconnect this connection, to як розірвати, to disconnect this connection between like identification. It's also part of politics, like who you are, how you identify yourself, and how you act in a creative way. They were trying to separate this and provide their thoughts. No, politics and music were always connected. For example, greatest composers were serving, like in Europe, around the kings. They were serving kings. They were playing music and creating new music masterpieces because the kings or some first persons of the countries were providing money for them and different opportunities. And they were creating the music in that situation, in that circumstances, but government were always compared with music. And also, if we talk about Eurovision, how Eurovision was born, it's great, it's the biggest European festival. It was born like як протиставлення, like alternative of United States domination, cultural domination in Europe. So, you know, you cannot separate this. Creative, politic, and etc. It's everything names identification. The nation should identify itself, and the nation can do it using the music, using the arts, using the TV, like United States nation doing using the Hollywood. So how you can separate the Hollywood and politic? You cannot separate, and it's right that it works like in this way.
We have another question as well. Also, further to that point, there's also a language of opposition, a music of opposition. If we think back to the German occupation of all of Poland and parts of Ukraine in World War II, jazz music was completely disallowed, so it was underground. But Wagner, and again, Wagner Group is named after the composer Wagner, was the composer of Hitler's, loved him. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it was the part of politics that provides Nazi on their territories.
But this next question, I want to make sure we get to it because it's related as well. Lon Kaufman is asking to hear a little bit more about your work as a writer, writing the lyrics. Do you write these yourself? Do you write them together with your bandmates? And what kind of narratives are you using? What specific themes are you writing about in your songs? Probably he's thinking more about the songs you've written since the war began, because he's asking, for example, do you counter Russian propaganda with themes like, no, we're not Nazis, or this is another Stalinist genocide, or this has always been our land? So this is a question from Lon Kaufman about your lyrics, if you can share with us some more just about what you are writing about.
Answering this question, I will be a little bit philosophical, because I believe that the lyrics of Antitila band, it has a quite philosophical background. Despite that we are going through the war, and yes, of course, we are singing about this in our common song with Ed Sheeran and in our new song Fortress Bakhmut. Yeah, it's like it is song about people on the war, about people destinies on the war, but it is not the song like about the war, like Directly. It's not directly about the war. This is the цінність. The values of artists is when the artist can think about something, can tell about something, not telling, not like marking this, but using metaphors and etc. like to express the feelings. So what we're trying to do. But if to be totally frankly, I am the person that believe maybe not in God, but in some highest power that providing me everything in my life, that is pushing me through my own way. And also I believe that this power pushing Ukrainian nation through our own way, freedom way. So, and it also feels in my songs, because I'm speaking with him. I'm trying to conversate with him, even if nothing exists, it could be, but I try to believe that it's something powerful exists and helps us. That's why a lot of our songs about love, because it is love, I believe.
Love heals, as you said.
Да, love heals, yeah.
Okay, and we have the very final question, because we have to wrap up and we are mindful of your time. And this question is, what is the next challenge for you personally and for ANTYTILA after victory? What will be the challenge?
After victory, our main goal will be to hold, to carry unity, and to empower the unity, strength of this unity. Because our nation, I'm proud of Ukrainians. I was born in Kyiv and I feel that I'm totally Ukrainian man. But I know our як сказати, слабкі сторони. Weak points. I know our weak points. And our weak points is that our strong side, that we can unite against the enemy, against the power, against the outer power, yeah? But when this outer power disappears, we cannot unite. It is our weak point that we start to scratch each other, we hurt each other, and this we should keep this unity, and it will be the main goal after the victory. How to keep this unity, how to make this unity much more powerful, because we are living in young democracy. Our country is going through, our democracy is very young. And unfortunately, Russia was using our young democracy to shake our country from inside, to make the big holes between different points of view, make we to fight each other just because we have different points of view. And we should to resist against this in future after the victory, because we cannot allow to ourselves lose the war after winning the war. But we can. It could be that after getting the victory, we can lose the war. It sounds ridiculous, but it could be, if Ukrainian nation will not united after this. And after that, of course, economy and cultural and etc. But first of all, unity, the main that we should to keep, to hold, and education. We should educate our kids but we should to do this now, because the biggest not challenge, but урон.
Lost.
No.
Lost.
Biggest loss that Russian cased and made to us, that they interrupted the educational processes of our kids, our children's. We should hide them in the basement. They destroy our electricity system. Our kids not to educate, not to learn something new. They want our kids to be not educated, not smart and etc. And we should not allow them to do this. And it will be the new challenge also, not after the victory, but it is our present challenge. How to organize everything, our kids to educate. Because world is rushing forward. And what we see, what is going around, despite that war is happening in Ukraine, the world is rushing forward. But our kids, they are in the end of the train, unfortunately, because of the war. And this is also a big challenge. Okay.
Thank you, Taras. So it seems like love and unity should be something that we should go for, and probably unity might happen because of love. We love each other. Thank you so much. Thank you for this.
We wanna wrap up the event unless there's a burning question. I think Taras has done an incredible job of keeping up his energy throughout this incredibly powerful conversation, and we could not be more humbled by his talents and service. And I know our team, our office, Maria Kravchenko would like to formally thank him with a bouquet that she chose, and it's a little bit symbolic, so maybe she can tell us about it.
Yeah, Taras, Alina, we would like to thank you on behalf of Fulbright office, IAEA office, and also on behalf of our main office in New York. I see many thankful words in our chat box, and I will send to you, Alina, and you will share with Taras with all that questions and comments. I guess you will find something very interesting there, because we don't have time to read all questions. And also we will send you all our participants registered, so probably you would like to stay connected with someone in the United States. Also, I saw we have representatives from Fulbright in Europe, from Bulgaria, for example. Maria Postova joined us, and I have requests from other Fulbright commissions in Czech Republic and in Poland. They are waiting for recording of this. So be sure that it is impactful event for spreading the word around the world. And here are small gifts for us. It's a brochure about Fulbright 25 years anniversary, and about in Ukraine, and about anniversary of Fulbright Globally 70.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Also, finally, very modest.
Oh, thank you, cute.
Bavovna.
Cotton.
Cotton.
We are very thankful for this conversation to you and to Ukrainian Embassy in Washington who made this connection to us, and we hope victory is close.
And for those in the audience, the bouquets are cotton flowers, because there's a very famous meme during wartime in Ukraine showing cotton instead of explosions. So that's something you can research online if you're interested in learning more about why we chose that symbolic plant.
Why cotton? Because on Russian it sounds like this is a chlopok. And clap, like it's chlopok. The sound like clap is something is clapping. They are telling when something is splashing on their territory, exploding on their territories. They telling that it's something clapping. Like this, we have this.
Mhm, mhm.
Right before we finish,
Great.
maybe you want to say some final words, Alina.
I will give this opportunity to Alina because I spoke a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much for everyone. And we had a lot of nice questions and I think a lot of interesting thoughts from Taras. And I thank him a lot. And to all our heroes, I guess that the participants of this meeting will have chance to watch our other films with other creators, because actually this is the topic of this conversation, the art and the culture against war. And it's on my point of view, it's very important to see different big artists talking through their art to the audience, to the international audience, about our reality, about the truth of this war, and trying to find all kind of support, and trying to call the attention, the international attention, and to get people involved in this situation through the arts, through the culture, and also to support our nation, to support our culture in the same time. And thank you very much. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!